in Accra, Ghana. Good evening and welcome to State of Affairs on GHOne television, where we address the issues affecting and shaping Ghana one conversation at a time. And so tonight, the headlines are hot and the questions even hotter. First, when those who are tasked to protect the land come under attack, you know clearly there's something off. The National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS, was stormed on November 1st by a group of Irish youth, allegedly led by the Member of Parliament for Esutifi North, Ebenezer Kwekwaddo. So what really happened, and what does this say about our fight against illegal mining? Mind you, President Mahama has committed to tackling that. But when lawmakers allegedly lead lawbreakers, where does that leave law and order? Security consultant Professor Kwesi Inin will be joining me shortly to break it all down. Then, from mining to money matters, from the pits to the purse, the SML-GRA deal is back in the news, and not for the right reasons. Special Prosecutor Kisi Jabin says former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and 5 others could soon face jail time for causing financial loss to the state. So what's new, what's next, and what does this really mean for accountability? I'll be speaking to investigative journalist Manasseh Awuni, the journalist who blew the lid off the deal. So stay tuned. We are digging deep, following the money, and as always, asking the questions that matter. We are really mining the truth tonight and taxing the lies on the show. So buckle up and let's get into the issues. I am Kodjo Mensah. Let's go. Well, you're still here on State of Affairs on GHOne television with me, Kodjo Mensah. But have you guys heard the latest from MTN? Well, if not, then listen. For those of you who love MTN Free After One, prepare for the upgraded experience. That is MTN Free After One Extra. Now, let me tell you what the extra is all about. So with MTN Free After One Extra, you can talk for 1 whole hour uninterrupted, while paying for only the first minute of every 10 minutes you talk, which means for every 10 minutes you talk within the hour, you only pay for the first minute, and you get to talk for 60 minutes straight with no interruptions. You like what you hear, right? Well, as if that's not enough, you also get 50 megabytes of data for free after your first call daily. So, you see, now is the time for you to talk extra with all the people you love. And to subscribe to MTN Free After One Extra today, just dial *550#. That is *550# and follow the prompts. And so we were hit with the information. Most of you saw the videos on social media with regards what happened in Bruni Chrome, we're told, on the NIMOS team. And so my colleague, Tutu Wadanso, she's put together this explainer.
This is what has got everybody talking. There was chaos in Ahafoshudium, a clash between some members of NIMOS and some youth said to be engaged in galamsey activities.
I would bring you that explainer to properly set into context the conversation for tonight. But you know that, yes, we saw the videos where we are told the account from the NIMOS team is that on their way, they saw some excavators doing some work they believed to be illegal mining. They approached the persons who were responsible for that, arrested some, and then confiscated a mobile phone and car keys, among others. But that is when it got tricky, because now they asked the persons who were arrested to call the owner of the site to the area where the incident happened, only for the owners to arrive, and then the entire scene became very chaotic. And then we are also told from the account from NIMOS that the Member of Parliament for Executive North, Ebenezer Kweku-Addo, joined later on, and according to the accounts, he led a team of irate youth who went to the police station in Shidium and demanded the release, among others. So he was mentioned, and that also basically brought to the fore quite a number of issues, including but not limited to the fact that, well, persons who are in this are affiliated to the NDC might in one way or the other be complicit in this fight and maybe compromise the fight as well. But he has put out a statement, and I will read to you that statement that was issued today by the Member of Parliament for Executive North constituency, Ebenezer Kweku-Addo. So you can see on your screens, and I'll take time to also read through what he's put there so that we can better appreciate his perspective. Mind you, the police CID is investigating the matter. So as we speak, Ebenezer Kweku-Addo is assisting with investigations into this matter. But let's get to the phone lines now and speak to Professor Kwesi Inin. He is a security consultant, and he is joining us via phone. Prof, thank you so much. Good to have you. I hope you're doing well, sir.
Yes, I'm very well. Yeah.
Right. So, Prof, does any of this surprise you, that there was a team from NIMOS that apprehended people, and later on we are told that about 600 persons in the community charged, and then, if not for the intervention of the police, wanted to physically assault the NIMOS team? Does that surprise you in any way at all?
No, it doesn't surprise. I'm actually surprised that it's taking such a long time to get to this. That's number one. My second surprise is not about the 600 young people. It is about members of parliament whose party is in government, whose parties initiated to stop illicit small land activities, small mining activities, doing their work, are seen as enemies of that person, and they are ready to lynch them. Okay? To support a Burkinabe kingpin and other Ghanaian kingpin. So just that tells you that those who are profiting illegally from this dangerous activity are now prepared to fight the state back. This is only the beginning of a long, very dangerous development.
Quite unfortunate development as well. But then the Member of Parliament says, or he's denied claims that he sought to protect alleged illegal miners against NIMOS. He brought irate youth to the scene to cause a melee. He says that he was on his way to a funeral, only to be told that there was this chaos at a gold extraction site, and so he went there to...
No problem. Let's not waste time. We have enough technological capacity to take a cell phone and to see the timestamp, who called who when. So I don't think we should waste time. Okay? Let's use the Signals Bureau to help us to get to the bottom of who called who and where he was going. A colonel in the Ghana Armed Forces leading a crack team who is faced by people using the names of other former ministers and members of parliament, threatening and throwing their weight about with the quantity of guns and ammunition found, cannot just come and deny. The Republic of Ghana has the tools and the implements to find out the truth. And if they haven't found out until now, then President Mahama must be dismissing some people. Because this is dangerous. They are beginning to fight back, and they will murder and they will kill. So please, let's not support. What is it that these people are so afraid of that they are prepared to undermine their own government, to challenge the authority of the state, destroy somebody's car, all in the interest of Ebukinabi? Are there other mafia groups who have funded other people and that these Ghanaian big shots are afraid? No. We shouldn't allow him to tell us he was going for a funeral. Do we go for funerals and divert and suddenly 600 people appear? No. You know, I'm very comfortable where I am sitting because I have predicted this will happen. And let us beg, if we don't crack the whip, in 6 months' time, there will be outright shooting in our villages and Galamsey side. Because they are well armed, they are connected, and they will fight back to protect the wealth that they have.
But Prof, what message does this really send? The bravado and then the manner in which they are willing to defy even uniformed men who have been tasked to deal with illegal mining?
No, this is a power game. Okay? When organized criminal networks feel that the audaciousness with which they have exploited the state is being challenged, they will fight back. Okay? Go back to history. The Italian state took years to be able to break the backs of the mafia. That is what we are going to see in this country because we want to lie to ourselves. We know the people who are doing Galamsey. We know the people who are doing the illicit financial transfers. So why are we wasting time? No, this is just the beginning. It's going to be bloody, it's going to be violent, and it's going to engulf all of us.
Well, Prof, for some people, the restraint that we saw from the NIMOS team, they've described it as really commendable because they claim that if the NIMOS team had also retaliated, perhaps it would have been a different tale we'll be telling tonight. What do you make of the restraint?
So the restraint is a good professional threat assessment. They knew they were outnumbered, outgunned, and that their safest bet was to be cool and calm. And that is the level of professional training that kicked in. Okay?
Yeah.
But you see, when ordinary people take guns against the representatives of the state, and they are seen to be running away, the signal is that now we can do it. If you take the last 5 years, this is about the 12th time that the military, out of their professional training, have pulled back. Eventually, their training is such that they will have to respond. And it will be brutal, it will be dangerous, and it will be fierce. So let the warning go out. If people think they are connected and therefore they can misbehave, it is the responsibility and the duty of the armed forces of the Republic of Ghana to use credible force to protect all of us. So now the fight is on. And I can assure people that the army representing Ghana will win this battle. But it will be bloody, long, difficult, and very painful.
Quite interesting there. But Prof, like you mentioned earlier, we've always said that the fight against illegal mining should target the persons who are the big shots who are behind the miners that we usually arrest in the pits and that. But then we are also hearing consistently names of persons affiliated to governments and their involvement in this. With this case, for instance, how do you think President Mahama should approach dealing with it?
Well, it's not my job to tell the president how to do his work. He has his national security advisor. He has his acting defense minister. He has the Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliament. I am only an analyst. But by now, everybody that we can identify in that video who challenged the authority of the president in establishing NIMOS to have his hands in handcuffs by now. We need to send a signal to the people of this country and their mafia supporters from our neighboring countries and much further afield that the Republic of Ghana is not for sale. That our resources are not for sale. That we have had chronic governments that have sent a blind eye to the criminality and the failing Galamsey. But now the ordinary people of Ghana are saying we are fed up and we want to take control. And we expect the armed forces to do what they've been established to do.
Right.
So I will repeat it. The fight is now on. We will lose lives, we will shed blood, but it will all be for the benefit of the Republic of Ghana.
And so finally, Prof, the approach we have adopted to this fight against illegal mining, the NIMOS set up to basically deal and root out illegal mining. Would you say that, per what we've seen so far, it's in the right direction?
Well, it's early stages yet. But what is the exit strategy? 400 NIMOS people cannot and will not be able to bring Galamsey under control. We need a proper strategy backed by the officially trained armed forces to be able to do this. So NIMOS is doing well, but that is not a long-term strategy to bring Galamsey under control.
Right.
We need to track where the money is coming from, where the money is going to, who are those involved, use network analysis to track them down, and if we need to tie them to the stakes and shoot them, that is what we need to do.
Well, Prof, thank you so much for your thoughts with us this evening. Absolutely. So that's Professor Kwesi Enin. He's a security consultant helping us put into proper perspective the conversation on the attack on the NIMOS team and matters arising. And you heard clearly he believes that, well, the fight is on and it's about time that the kingpins behind these illegal mine activities are really dealt with. And so that's that conversation. But we also know that tonight we are also shining the spotlight on the SML-GRA deal as well, because that has also come up for conversation after that press conference from the special prosecutor, Kisieja Jabin, where he mentioned that the former finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, as well as 5 others, would likely be facing some jail term as a result of causing financial loss to the state. And there's also conversation about retrieving the monies that have been lost to that particular deal, among others. This is still State of Affairs here on GHOne Television with me, Joshua Kodjo Mensah. We'll go for a quick break, but when we do return, we'll be speaking to the man who blew the lid off this particular deal, Manasseh Awuni, right after this break. Well, thank you so much for staying on with us here on State of Affairs on GHOne Television. Well, we are getting to the conversation on the GRA SML deal, but first, let's listen to the special prosecutor, Kissie Jabin, when he addressed the media a couple of days ago on this matter.
The outcome of the investigation is that the OSP will charge the following persons with various corruption and corruption-related offences before the end of November 2025. 1. Kenneth Nanayao Oforiatta, former Minister of Finance. 2. Ernest Akori, Chef de Cabinet to Kenneth Nanayao Oforiatta as Minister of Finance. 3. Emmanuel Kofinti, former Commissioner General of Ghana Revenue Authority. 4. Amishadai Owusu-Amoah, former Commissioner General of Ghana Revenue Authority. 5. Isaac Krenzel, former Commissioner of the Customs Division of Ghana Revenue Authority and General Manager of Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited. 6. Kodjo Damwa, former Commissioner of the Customs Division of Ghana Revenue Authority and Member of Parliament for German South constituency. As part of the process, the OSP will seek to recover the financial loss caused to the Republic from the persons listed above. Also, the OSP will recover a total amount of 125 million cedis from SML by way of a disgorgement of unjust enrichment of overpayment by the return of the benefit of this amount it obtained unfairly at the expense of the Republic. This amount was arrived on 2 considerations. First, the participation of SML in the public revenue assurance regime was based on largely undeserved automatic payments detached from performance. Second, the figure was adjusted on a quantum meru basis. This is a legal doctrine that developed the English common law as a form of implied contract or quasi-contract to ensure that the person who conferred a benefit on another received compensation, even when no valid contract existed.
So that's the special prosecutor, Kissie Jabin, a couple of days ago, outlining the conclusion of his probe into the matter. But the man who blew the lead of this deal, Manasseh Awuni, is joining me via Zoom for a conversation. Manasseh, thank you so much for joining us on State of Affairs.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So looking at or listening to the special prosecutor and the conclusions he's drawn, what do you have to say about that?
Well, there are some that I agree with, and there are some that I think more can be done. If you look at the charges, the special prosecutor mentions figures or public figures, people who worked on the side of the state. But we know that whatever that has happened was a collusion between the private sector and the public sector. So the question is, what about those on the side of the private sector? We have examples in the past when people like Seydou Agongo were prosecuted. When I did the GHOne investigation, Abu Gapele, who was a public officer, went to jail for 6 years, and then Philippa Sibit, who was the private businessman, had 12 years. The question the OSP should be telling Ghanaians is, did this deal only emanate from those of the public sector, and that SML officials, especially the CEO of the company, Evans Edusei, is he totally innocent? We're also talking about the amount of money being mentioned here, and it's a bit surprising that we've paid over 1.4 billion to a company that we are told did not deserve to be paid anything, and all we are asking for is only 125 million, which is woefully inadequate. I'm saying this because if you look at the SML contract, they have different categories.
Okay.
There is the external price verification at the port, and also transaction audit aspect of the contract. When KPMG finished its report and President Akufo-Addo released his white paper. That white paper contained something on the transaction audit and external price verification. And it said that those services were already built into customs icons. So there was no need for a third party company to come in. And guess how much we've paid for that service alone? 506 million Ghana cedis. This is something that the president said, and the GRA proceeded to terminate those aspects of the contract. Now, if you look at the schedule of payment in the OSP's report, in respect of that aspect of the contract, we have each year and a number of months that we pay. If you look at 2024, we paid for 12 months, but the first 6 months of the year, the SML contract was suspended. And when the suspension was over, the contract was terminated because it was one of those contracts that didn't come on board after the KPMG report and the president's directives.
Right.
The only one that resumed was the downstream petroleum audit aspect of the contract. But it is listed in the OSP's report that for the 12 months of 2024, we paid 166 million Ghana cedis. The question we should be asking is, who did we pay to and why did we pay when the whole year the contract remained either suspended or cancelled? So if you take that payment alone, just the 2024 payment for that service alone, and there were many services, we are looking at a figure that is higher than what the OSP is talking about. So these are some of the issues that the OSP may have to look at before he proceeds to court.
Because he has set a deadline, which is the end of this month of November, where he says the former finance minister and the 5 others. But you are of the view that there are more people who are also to be held liable than the 5 names plus the former finance minister that has been put out, and there's more to recover in terms of funds than the OSP has put out. That's your position?
That is it. And if you look at the OSP's report, that is clearly stated. The report mentions an instance when the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Julius Siam, actually sent a memo, an email of a sort, that payment shouldn't be made in respect of the cancelled external price verification and transaction audit aspect of the contract, and payments were made. The question is, if the head of the institution says don't pay and someone still goes to pay, why are those people not fished out and dealt with? As we speak, none of those people have been mentioned. So I believe that the OSP, to a large extent, has done a good job, but there need to be some tying up of a bit loose ends that the office has to do before this case proceeds to court.
So when he gave that press briefing, one thing we did not hear, or one thing we were not told, was the head of legal, who we are told today has been arrested by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. What do you know about his involvement, if there's any?
Well, I think somewhere last week, a day before the OSP came out, there was a letter written from the GRA to SML talking about some services that the company did this work, and there were records to show and a whole lot of things. So that letter came out and people were asking perhaps what necessitated this letter. It appeared as though it was to set a certain agenda or to lead to certain outcomes in the future. So that letter was, I think, published by some pro-SML, maybe journalist, and then distributed across. It was on social media. People would say, well, SML did a work. So I suspect Mr. Freeman Saba, who signed that letter, may have been invited because of that, because he's also the one who witnessed the consolidated SML contract in 2023, which the GRA, the Ministry of Finance, signed on behalf of the government of Ghana, and then the SML signed on the other side. So I suspect that letter may be the reason he was invited.
But what do you make generally of the relationship between the Ghana Revenue Authority and SML, especially given that some past officials of GRA have ended up now with SML?
Well, in all this scandal, if you listen to those who justify it, they try to make the point that GRA lacked the capacity to undertake these contracts. And that was why they outsourced the services to a private company that came on board, has no license to do auditing or these accountancy services. We have confirmed that from the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana. And the managing director of SML, Christian Tetesoti, was one time head of the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana and had said they would crack the whip on bodies, persons, and organizations that practiced auditing and accounting services without licenses. Interestingly, he is now heading an organization that is doing just that. So the point they often try to push was that SML was doing something that GRA could not do. And everything on the ground proved that this was false. And interestingly, the head of legal at SML, the former head of legal, who left before the man who was today arrested took over, he is now at SML. The former technical advisor to the Commissioner General of the GRA, Christian Tetesoti, he is now the managing director of SML. And a former commissioner of the GRA Customs Division, Isaac Krensel, is also a general manager at SML. So the question is, if you could not supervise people to do these services at GRA, where did you suddenly get a capacity to go to SML to manage the same services that the GRA outsourced when you were there as very senior managers or officials of the organization? That is a very murky mix. And if you look at all of this, it appears like a certain grand scheme to foster a needless contract on the Republic of Ghana, of which we have paid 1.4 billion Ghana cedis. And as we speak, had this contract gone through, the new one, every year would have been paying over 1 billion cedis to SML.
And we know that President Mahama has directed for that deal to be cancelled. To the best of your knowledge, do you know if that has been actually materialized?
Well, the information I have is that the Minister of Finance, Kansila Toforsen, has been given 7 days to take actions and report back to the presidency. This letter was issued on Friday. So we are hoping that by close of this week, we should be asking the Minister of Finance what has happened. And of course, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, the Honorable Dominic Ayine, had also mentioned in his last press conference before the president's action that his outfit had also finished the investigation into SML. And so in the coming days or weeks, we should also be interested in what they have found. And together with this OSP's report, we know the OSP is limited to only corruption,
right,
but Attorney General can charge and prosecute for willfully causing financial loss to the state and other possible charges such as money laundering and others. So it will be interesting to see how seriously these other state officials, including the Office of the Special Prosecutor, proceeds from this press conference.
Right. You have mentioned that your expectation is that before the deadline that the OSP has given its outfit, that by the end of this month, it would proffer charges against these individuals. You are expecting that, well, it will be changed in terms of the numbers of people who will be complicit or be required to answer would increase, especially from the private sector as well. And then the amounts to be recovered, you are also hopeful that we'll see an appreciation in the figure that was earlier stated. But what if nothing changes?
Well, if nothing changes, then we Ghanaians should expect an explanation from the Office of the Special Prosecutor. If you have listened to people like the former Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo, he also mentioned that we need to see an expansion of the charge list, the prosecution list, those who will be put before court. And it is based on the evidence and the information out there. Those of us who did this work had some information even before the Office of the Special Prosecutor got to know about the case. And when it got to their outfit, they took what we had and even uncovered more. If for some reason they think nothing else should be added or nothing else should be recovered, then Ghanaians need to have an explanation for that.
Well, the Special Prosecutor, Kisi Jabin, at that press briefing also noted that he knew that when the investigation started, the former Finance Minister, Kenneth Nanayao Kuntunkununko Furiata, was never returning right after, once the investigation started. Did you also have that inclination that Kenneth Furiata was not returning?
Not an inclination. I heard from someone close to him that he wasn't coming back. And this was about 3 or 4 months ago.
So none of this surprises you at all?
No, it doesn't.
Right. But let's talk about the president's fight against graft. What is your assessment thus far, even though it's been just 10 months into his administration?
Well, I will say that I've seen some glimmers of hope. It is too early yet, but from my perspective, there seems to be an attempt to do something about what we talk about. A typical example is this outrageous and fraudulent Zoom Lion contract with the Youth Employment Agency that we've lost so much. It lacks transparency, accountability. And I have been on this campaign, or I had been on it since 2013, and nobody seemed to be listening. When I petitioned President John Mahama, something was done, and he said the contract will not be renewed. In July, myself and Evans Aziamo Mensah and Adjoado Biousu also did a story similar to SML. Of course, SML was linked. A mining company called Evertex Ghana Limited was awarded a contract to do revenue assurance at the airport. This contract was awarded 3 days to the 2024 election, and we realized that the circumstances under which this company got a contract were very troubling. The company had only 1 staff, hadn't paid taxes for the previous years. It looked like a dead company that was excavated just for this contract. And then the company that actually appeared before the Ghana Airports Company Board to do a presentation for this contract was sidelined after the presentation, and it was given to this company. We know from our investigation that this company belongs to the same man who owns SML. And when the contract was given, SML staff, including Isaac Krensel, were dispatched to go and then have this contract executed. And when we did this investigation, and a day or two before the story came out, we heard that they had terminated that contract. So that is number 2. And if you add this to SML, I can say that from my part, at least those that I've directly worked on, these are 3 major deals that the presidency has taken action on. I don't remember any period in my investigative journalism career that within this short time we are seeing these results.
Right.
But I must be quick to add that that shouldn't be the end of it. I know that when it comes to corruption, there are many people who have interest. And so sometimes the president may give an order that let this be done, but those down there may do certain things to hurt the interest of the state. So it is incumbent on all of us, journalists, media people, civil society, and Ghanaians, to be interested in what happens after the president gives a directive, so that some people do not end up benefiting, cutting corners, and then allowing us to get back to where we began.
But Manasseh, talking about oral, it's one of the flagship, I should say, programs that got people also excited about ushering in this new administration. From where you sit and from your experience dealing with grafts in various forms, do you see it succeeding to the expectations of the public? Because there are some who say that the expectations were so high and now the public is not seeing that level of delivery with regards to oral. What do you think?
Well, for now, I cannot say it will succeed or it will fail. We are only yet to see what happens. But the experience I have gained in this field shows that many factors will lead to the failure or success of oral. One will be whether or not the executive, headed by the president, will give the investigative bodies and prosecutorial bodies the free hand to do their work. And from what I have heard from some of the anti-graft agencies, state institutions, anti-corruption agencies, I have not heard interference from the president. Some of them have actually said the president has given them the go-ahead. Even if others are interfering, they say they have the backing of the president. So the executive is one of them. I have heard people complaining about corrupt judges and they would undermine it. But let me put on record that one of the groups that can also undermine oral is the anti-corruption agencies of the states.
How so?
Because they are also possible saboteurs of oral. And I'm saying this because when you want to fight corruption, persons who have stolen millions, hundreds of millions of cedis and dollars have enough money to also bribe. So the bribes they are talking about won't only go to the judges if they are to be bribery, or they are supposed to be, or there's ever any compromise. Not only the judiciary is susceptible to inducement, bribery, and corruption. No, some of the state anti-corruption agencies will also be approached with some of these inducements and influences. So it is incumbent on them to stand their grounds and say no and proceed. So they are also one. An investigator or a prosecutor can also take bribe and either ignore some evidence or do charges in a way that will set people free. That is part. Then, of course, when it goes to the courts, the judiciary have a role to play too. Besides these allegations of or suspicions of corruption, how far or fast the case travels can also help in the judicial process.
Right.
And we have these political parties that also have interests, and sometimes influential people in society, even including men of God. Some of these big pastors, some of us know, put pressure on politicians to leave some people. So all of these people in society have a way of making oral fail or succeed. But I believe the biggest responsibility and the biggest accountability we should expect is from those who report or those given the mandate to do the prosecution, the anti-corruption agencies. Let's not leave them out when we are talking about possible compromises.
And finally, what will be your expectation of the John Mahama administration when it comes to dealing with graft under his presidency? Because there are others who say that, well, he is not going to seek re-election, for which reason, what you mentioned earlier, he might give an order, but then the people down there might not necessarily move in line with that directive is given. What would be your expectation?
Well, I had opportunity to meet the president a few months ago, and in our conversation, he mentioned that this is his legacy term, and that is how he put it. And I think he has been uniquely placed to set a good example. If the president gives a minister or an appointee an order to do something and that person does not do it, the president has the power to remove any minister at all or appointee at all from office without being required to even give reasons. So the buck stops with the president.
Right.
If he gives the order and they obey, good. If someone wants to do something different from what the president wants, we voted for the president and he appointed his ministers. And he had the power to let them go or even punish them by way of referring them to the necessary bodies or authorities if they violate the law. So I expect the president to be firm, and after 4 years, he should be able to go out and he and his generation will look back with pride that when he had the opportunity to correct his wrongs, he did something right. He fought galamsey. He fought corruption. He is the president Ghana would ever want. And that should be what he should strive to achieve in these next 3 years that we have.
Absolutely. But then, I know I said that was final, but quite finally, a couple of hours ago, you posted something on your social media. It seems to be getting a lot of attention. And people are asking, when are we, what will it take to have Manasseh join the Ghana Journalists Association again?
Well, I don't think the association as it is attractive enough for me to join. And my point is, the Ghana Journalists Association, at the time I left, was supporting a business that was involved in corruption. Actually, I did a story that resulted in the cancellation of a $74 million contract, but the GGA was supporting this shady deal against me. Recently, the Fourth Estate published a story on KGL, and KGL is the title sponsor of the GGA Awards. For the first time, seeing GGA KGL Awards. It used to be GGA Awards, even though they were title sponsors. Then at the launch of the awards, the chairman of KGL was given the platform and he called the work of the Fourth Estate sensational and irresponsible. And I think that is totally unacceptable. If you are to sponsor an award for journalists, and the title sponsor is using the platform of the Journalists Association to condemn a certain media house that has done a story. If you listen to the Director General of the National Lotteries Authority, he actually said, look, the state deserves more from this contract. So it has to be renegotiated so that the state will gain more. And this is the essence of the fourth estate publication. So if you have the GHOne giving its platform for a business that is involved in this contract to attack the media house, I don't think this is the GHOne worth my time. Maybe in the future, if it gets back to what a journalist association is supposed to do, I wouldn't have a problem rejoining.
Absolutely. Well, Manasseh, thank you so much for sparing time with us this evening. We appreciate your time so much. Well, so that's Manasseh Awuni joining us on the state of affairs, basically talking about the SML-GRA contract as well. Earlier, we spoke to Professor Kwesi Enin, who is a security consultant on the attack on the NIMOS team. Well, that's it for State of Affairs tonight. Thank you so much for being a big part of the show. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah, and we're back same time next week, God willing, for God and country. Do have a wonderful night.